Homegrown Radio.
Greetings, everybody. I hope you're all well. Welcome to Boys Will Be Boys. Today we have our first guest.
Yes,
we are
sir.
so excited. We have Baba Buntu in the building, and we are excited to speak about a topic that is not so spoken about, worldwide. And so we are so excited to have Baba Buntu here. Baba Buntu has been working with boys for over 30 years, and we are really excited to hear what he has to say. I am Stephanie Pike. The birds are singing, the sun is shining, and I'm excited to be here with my co-host,
Token Toby, aka Toby. I said it twice, so you know that I mean it. And we are here with the podcast Boys Will Be Boys. And there's a reason why we bring Baba Buntu to this platform, because he has a big knowledge, and he, like we said, 30 years in this whole thing with working with boys to becoming a man as well. Baba Buntu, I just would like to say thank you for being on this platform. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. First of all, you have the attire as well.
I came dressed.
Yes. Wow.
She's nearly there. I'm like, nowhere near. But you have been doing this thing for some years. You have. I'm just gonna get a little bit onto the personal side as well, because it's quite obvious to be like, oh, okay, what's the new journey, or okay, how is it working with boys? I think it's more. Let's start with you.
Sure.
Where did you grow up? Who did you grow up with? And just a brief
History.
Yeah, just the history of who Baba Buntu was.
Sure.
Yes.
Baba Amani Buntu.
I have a long name, Dr. Baba Amani Olubanjo Buntu.
Yes.
Thank you so much, first of all, Homegrown Radio and this show, Boys Will Be Boys, for inviting me. Thank you for the work that you do. I'm very honored to be here. I'm very inspired to be on this beautiful farm. Yeah, a short version of this. Let me try. So I think to link it to the topic and the theme of this show, I'm somebody who for a very long time was a very lost black boy in this world. My family is from the Caribbean. I grew up for quite a number of years in Scandinavia, Europe.
Yeah.
At a time when blackness was not really spoken about, but reacted to very often, very violently and very shockingly. So I grew up with a lot of scars and a lot of question marks and a lot of confusion around. And I think this is what I'd like to put on the table as maybe when you say I work with boys, I do, but I think my main vocation is to work with the African family.
Right.
And it's important for me to anchor it there, because part of my own experience of why things can go really wrong, and why I'm so invested also in trying to follow young men and older men as well on a certain journey, is that I feel what really can help us is to get the family together.
Absolutely.
Because as African people, this is something that has held us together for thousands and thousands of years.
Absolutely.
So when we now see that there's a design to destroy and to keep apart the African family through violence, through animosity, through a whole lot of different things that are reaction to the world that we live in. I think it's very important that some of us really devote ourselves strongly to fix things and to come up with solutions in that particular space.
Wow.
Right.
So I have a question for you. What inspired Shabaka, Men of Africa?
Yeah, so Shabaka Men of Africa is a program that we started under our organization, which is called Ebukosini Solutions, based in Johannesburg. I'd like to say that Shabaka is something that was born out of necessity. It wasn't just an idea I had.
Yeah.
What I realized, because I was doing a lot of speaking engagement, engaging with young people, and I'm somebody who, maybe this is important to the personal story, that as an 18-year-old, I wrote a letter to my future self and saying that these are 10 commandments that I need to live by. You call them guidelines, but I think I internalized them as commandments. And they had to do with how I'm going to interact with the world, what kind of jobs I can choose and what I cannot choose. If I'm offered a lot of money, if I'm going to take that money, there needs to be certain values that I use that money with. So, and they were quite specific, and I think that led me to wanting to work with young people. And I told myself I must never forget what it is to be young in this world, because I see people are older than me already forgetting it. And interacting with the world as if, young people be quiet, young people are too much, young people don't be here, like you don't know anything, you always think you are so full of everything. But young people are a result of the surroundings, and they also respond to the adult society. So if we have a problem with young people, we should have a problem with ourselves first.
Yes, because
so I always wanted to be very aligned with those thoughts and that promise. So I then worked a lot with young people in different ways, and this issue of men came up even when there was a time I didn't really I don't really want to specifically work with men. I can work with men, but not specifically. But it came to me and it came to me and it came to me, and in very unrelated situations, African men, whatever age, would come up and ask very similar questions. And a lot of them were about identity, about relationships, about sexuality, and not so much about the expression of sexuality, but just how sexuality, we live in a very sexualized world, how that has an impact on men who feel certain pressures and feel they need to live up to certain stereotypes, and how that impacts on their own issues of self-development, fear, anxieties, and in a world where they can never speak about that. So that was the premise for Shabaka. And let me tell you this, when we started Shabaka, I said no, because I'd started a number of projects, different projects before that. I thought this is going to be different. We're not going to start without money, we're not going to start without resources, I'm not going to start it alone. So I identified a few partners and organizations that I reached out to say, can we work together? Can we apply for funding? Everybody, but at the end, I was still left alone. I mean, I've had a lot of support, so I'm not saying it's my efforts only, but it didn't turn out the way that I had hoped, at least not at the beginning. So it was quite of a lonely journey, but I think I started it with young men. And part of my life, for instance, my name Baba is not a given name. It's not in my passport. It's a title, and I also have a title, doctor. But I always say that Baba is the biggest title I could ever get, and I need to live up to that. It's not just a patriarchal title like, I'm Baba, you just be quiet. Like, it's not that. It's a number of young people have said, I see a father figure in you. And if you see that, I'm extremely humbled, because I didn't grow up with a father figure, and I had judgment against every adult man who wanted to expect something from me or tell me what to do. And so I know that for a lot of young men, if they can freely say, I look to you as a Baba, that means something you need to hold very tenderly and very
absolutely. There was a time, so if you guys do not know, I attended one of his ceremonies, or what you can say camps, basically. And this is it's just shortly and briefly, it's basically a camp where young boys, right, from various ages can come and attend, and you can literally go out there and find yourself in your being, in your Africanity, and you as a young boy coming of a man or somebody that you want to be in life. And I've learned quite a lot, guys. This is not a scam. I'm saying this here as a host at Homegrown. If you really want to find yourself, especially as a boy, please go in. We are going to put it up there, all the titles, all the organizations that we're putting up there, and whatever it is, your socials, whether it's up there, because it's very important that we get the message across. And if this is the way we're going to do it, so be it. We are living in the digital age and digital world. I just wanted to say from you were talking about the title Bab. I just want to get deep into that. There's king, there's sultan, there's, for every nation there is that word, and we'll see the whole nation will understand the point and how strong it is when you say it, right? So for us as Africans, Baba is the king. Baba is the sultan. And like you said, when you take it humbly, and he is a very humble man. Baba Buntu, very
absolutely.
Baba is a title where the community decides as a people, not you as a person. They decide to give you that title because of the doings that the right doings necessarily that you've been doing to the community. You've been going around, you've been doing so much work, and then as much as you're doing it, sometimes you can there is being too humble, because sometimes you don't realize your own work and your own worth and what you've been doing. Because I see what I've learned from you is that you are a people's person. You do it for the people as well, and you want to empower people and enlighten, like you said, black families, young boys, and and strengthen or rebirth the structure of Africa as an empire. Just like there was a Roman Empire, there's an African empire,
absolutely.
but we don't know about it.
Absolutely.
So that Baba title is very, very important.
Absolutely.
And it's a thing of it's a title.
Yes, it is. Yes. So what I wanted to say is I like you said something earlier about when young people are a problem, it's a reflection on adults.
Yes.
And that really hit home because I thought about it and said, how we behave as adults. Whether I'm a woman, I have a great impact on my son, I have a great impact on my brothers in society. And so my question to you is, from your experience of working with young boys, what do you find is the greatest challenge in Africa?
It's difficult to single out one, but I can try. I think one thing that I see runs through all of us, and remember that even though I don't use that story in every encounter I have, I think a very significant part of my journey with this is also what I went through as a young boy, as a teenager myself.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'd been shielded from all of those experiences if I had been able to make sense in this space, because I think some of the things that I feel I understand maybe better than those and some other people is because I've lived them, I've experienced them, I know them from my own experience. But of course I also draw from other people's experiences and knowledge and all of that. I think self-acceptance is a very dominant feature in many African men, and in ways that we don't know how to talk about it, because it's not just about confidence to speak in front of a crowd. It's not just about manning up to ask that girl out. And we often think that that's because manhood in this world often sits as a performance. And it works. If I can move in a certain way, if I can talk in a certain way, put my body in a certain way, people will respond to me, sometimes liking it and sometimes judging it, because some will not like that performance, but I will still be seen as a strong man. So when I monitor and look around me and see that, I can actually try to emulate that. So many of the men we look up to in our lives, especially in our younger years, as men and women, we learn to look up to men who often just portray a certain performance.
Absolutely.
And within that shell of performance, we as African men, we also think that, but why do you even believe this? Like, why is it so easy? If it's with women, if it was other guys, like, I'm not even what you think I am. And that's why it's difficult for us to, for instance, when we then start to get into relationships, and now our partners want to ask us questions, why are you like this, but you don't show any emotions, you're just like, I don't know how to deal with this. So that now I'm in touch with my insecurity, because what used to work for me, I could perform, guys would like me, girls would like me. Now that was a performance. But now somebody wants to get under my skin. I don't know what I even look like under that skin. So if you're now gonna ask me questions, I don't even know what to respond to. It becomes very scary, and that's why some of us, either we seek partners that we can dominate, so that they don't get to that level of interrogating us, or we keep functioning within what's often referred to as toxic masculinity. I would say as African men, our experience is broken masculinity. Because it's not just that we chose toxins, it's also that we come from a colonial experience where we were forced to be boys. We could never really be men. We were forced to be not owners of land because we were not intelligent. We were forced not to go to school. Of course, women were forced to do the same. But as you kind of talked about, the title of, or the practice of being a father, of being a baba, is supposed to, it's not just a head in the sense that there's this godly figure that everybody bows down to. That Baba should be a very selfless person. And we've lost that content. So even if we now say Baba, it might just be a rich person. Or it might be just somebody who's very rowdy and very brutal.
Or dominant.
But exactly, but within there's actually very few values to build on.
Very true.
So we need to get away from the performance and really see what is in. And that's the space we as African men are very scared to go.
Absolutely, wow. That's powerful. So one thing Toby and I were wondering is, you have worked with boys from all over, across the board. And so what our question was to you is there a difference in the way boys are raised in America or in the US or in the United Kingdom as opposed to Africa? Have you noticed a difference?
Oh yes, I think especially I mean, there's, what can I say? So my family is from the Caribbean. I have lived in Europe. I've visited the United States. I live in South Africa. I have visited and worked in a few other African countries. So there are many differences just across. There's many differences within South Africa, within the West. Like there's many differences. So I can't say this is how all men experience Europe or America. But one thing that I can say that is quite different from the Western world and the African world is that the Western world places so much emphasis on individuality. You are nobody unless you can speak for yourself, write your own stuff, and you need to present yourself to the world. That's what you learn in school. Whereas school, at least to a huge extent on the continent, has kind of been this factory in Africa where you just produce people. And you actually don't do so well if you think too much, if you have too many opinions, if you learn to kind of toe in line. And Western school, to a larger degree, there are also issues, of course, with that there, but to a larger extent, they learn to be individuals and they are praised when they can stand out. So I think when African and men of African descent grow up in outside of Africa, many of them have to adhere to that cultural expectation. But now they also live with the stigma, they live with racism, they live with experiences and that often are against blackness or have racist undertones and ways of also silencing you and making you feel very excluded in society. So I think there you will see in some diaspora, like in part of the African diaspora, you'll also see that there's a particular form of violence that breaks out because African men are so excluded from all places of power. And they're expected to be powerful, they're expected to have money, they're expected to... And I think when I say that, that is also linked to the experience here on the continent, because as an African man, as an African woman too, but especially as an African man, you're supposed to be a provider. And there's a particular understanding of what a provider is. And most men feel that I'm not that provider. I don't even know how to become it. So I'm living with this judgment. I would love my parents to be proud of me, but they're probably not because I don't even have my first job yet. And you see Sipo on the corner who has a car. You see Senlo who has now moved into a new apartment. And you are still there. And you can hear it even when your parents are inviting people. So what is Buntu doing now? No, you're still trying. But anyway, let me talk about Senlo. Like I want to hear more about him. So you can sense that they're not even proud of me. They don't even mention me when they talk to other people. So in that, and that's a loving act. I mean, if you confront those parents, but we don't have a problem with Buntu, like he's trying and he's gonna get there one day. But I'm experiencing what they may not want to say consciously, but actually are saying through their actions. So I think that's something a lot of us are broken for that because we never really measure up to what we think an African man must be.
Absolutely. There is this. I once had a Instagram live about brokenness, and you just nailed it right there. And so, there's something that I've been wondering. So, I've interacted with Toby, and Toby is vulnerable. He's open, but he's one in a million. So Toby can speak openly about how he's feeling, but there are so many other... Right now I'm surrounded by men. I mean, all of you are men here, and not all of you will be willing to share what you're feeling right now. And that leads me to the question on vulnerability. How would you encourage all the other young boys to be more like Toby, who's able to express himself, because that is quite a big issue in Africa and, just in men in general and boys, because my son, if he falls today, I'll tell him, get up, be strong. And if he's fallen onto a splinter, he's not able to tell me because I've told him to be strong. And yet this thing is hurting him, and all I need to do is to help him pull it out. But because I've said be strong, he wants to be strong for mommy. He wants to be, and that thing is continuing to grow, and it's going to cause more damage. And so where and how do we bridge the gap between being vulnerable without being seen as weak as men?
But I think we had a conversation before the program about the importance of parenting and also understanding how as a parent you influence your child. And I think I also have had this conversation with Toby, and I know that part of his story is that there's three things that he has had that not every African man has. He has had a mother who's very aware of the situation you said now, who has put him in, and he has great male role models around him who are also vulnerable, who can talk, who can explain about pain in their lives, which is not normal. Because I didn't grow up with that.
No.
I decided to become a personal person like that, but I thought I was the only one in the world who did that. I literally did.
Yeah.
So and the third thing is that he also has a strong personality, and he doesn't. He has through his life also dared to be different. So he's not moving in life just to be accepted by everybody and be understood by everybody.
Yeah.
And many of us feel that we don't have an option. I have to do what people expect me to do. As an African man, I may not want to be like this. I may not even want to, and I'm not trying to say this in defense or saying it's excusable. But I may experience myself as a man who speak rough to women, and I can feel this thing of pain within myself, but I can never say that. Because men around me, they talk to women like that. And if I would say, oh, I'm sorry I hurt you, people will call me out and say, what kind of sissy are you? What's wrong with you? Don't you know women? You just do like 1, 2, 3. So I need to belong. And I think maybe I could change what I responded to a little bit earlier. Maybe belonging is really what we struggle with as African men, because we need to have a foundation, and that foundation has been taken away from us in so many different ways, as a people, as a family, and in a particular way as men as well. And I think that's why we keep having these, I call them gender wars, because for a long time, as African men have done the mistake or been forced into making the mistake of emulating the people who oppressed us. And now, over the last few years and decades, African women have decided to speak up against that and say that you are hurting me. I'm not accepting this. I'm not going to live under your reign of toxicity. Now, when they raise up, some of them also are not necessarily aware of the background or maybe understand where this is coming from and need to shield themselves. Like some are being attacked, some are living in danger for their life. But our response to that as African men is that we hear women are saying that we don't need you anymore. You are useless. You are nonsense. We don't. Please be quiet. And I can see it literally. I don't know if you've noticed, but even in schools right now, a lot of boys growing up are becoming more fidgety, becoming more noisy, and you see the girls next to them are sitting nicely writing what the teacher has told them. And what that does, because there's an insecurity that many even boys have about their place in the world, and this hasn't even reached a conscious level yet. And you can literally see when you come into the class, you're going to spend more time shouting at, hey, you know what? If you're going to behave like that, out of this room. Why can't you behave like Tanya? Why can't you be like? And you're going to look at the girls and say, why can't you be like them? And this is like 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. We haven't even gotten to puberty yet. We haven't gotten to dating yet. We haven't gotten to the manly responsibilities yet. So I'm just saying, this is something that I'd love for us to have a different conversation of.
Absolutely.
And when we need to exclude violence and when there's danger, because that's a particular subset of
altogether.
But as African men and women, we need to learn to talk. I should have an interest. What is your experience as an African woman? What have you gone through? Why do I sometimes feel some women judge us like this? Let me listen. Let me not say, you see, the problem with you women is what? But then I also need you to say that to us. Saying that, but I don't understand. Some African men seem to be very obsessed with what? Why do you think that is? We need to have those conversations.
We need to have those conversations.
Absolutely. Okay.
So that's in itself, the fact that you sometimes people can speak about things that they are for, and you'll see that it's not as natural, but I see that what you're speaking about right now is the togetherness of the African family.
Absolutely.
So you literally spoke about that, and this is, when it's in you, we can actually see it. So very important that you name the 3 things that I have that most people don't have, boys don't have, which they need to have. That's why the togetherness of a family will create what I have for many other boys, and they will become, many other Tobis or many other Dobozos or whatever it is, and which is very, very important. This is look. Our first segment of the Boys Will Be Boys, and what a great year!
What a great year! Absolutely.
To start off.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
With a legend in the game.
A great legend.
Great legend in the game.
Yeah. One thing I would like to ask, though, the great legend, is that there is something very important when I read about you that I saw, and it was about self-knowledge. Self-knowledge. And there are many boys who are listening to this show right now and men who do not know what that means.
True.
What is self-knowledge? What is self-love? And that's the one thing that I want people to take home from this conversation. So if you could just quickly elaborate on that for us.
Thank you so much. I think self-knowledge is a process that we're supposed to be afforded in life. Like it's supposed to be part of the human experience.
Yeah.
So why I'm saying that the Black experience is not human is that we go to school and we don't read about us.
Yeah.
We learn about technology, but our picture is not there. We learn about this amazing world that is out there that maybe one day is going to give us a job, give us a title, give us a paper, but it's not representing us. So we seem to be these people who represent everything we don't want. And when you, and if that, let's say it was true that African people had never really built anything else but a small hut under a tree and done a few things very insignificantly, then there would be a context to feeling that I'm not so really proud of being African and I don't really want to know so much. But we come from empires, we come from incredible, like everything that's imaginable to know in this world. We started it out. And that story is not told. So it's not just that we don't know, it's a design that we're not supposed to know. Because when we don't know, we become more sheepish. We stand in line, we wait for opportunities. We don't want to stick my foot forward because I could be wrong, could be judged. Maybe this is not going to work out. I can't trust myself. So the thing is, when I know myself, and for me it started with books, reading a lot about African history, African culture, it's very important. But for others it might be having a mentor, it might be visiting Ugogo, it might go into the village that your family is really from. And even if you feel uncomfortable, say I'm not leaving until I feel comfortable. I'm going to walk up and down, I'm going to speak to everyone because I know that it's the city that took away my confidence of being here. This is me, and I need to work myself back there. And quickly about love. I don't use the word love a lot. And it's a conversation I keep having with my wife as well because we don't use that word a lot to each other. But I know that she loves me and she knows that I love her. But I like to replace the word love with honor. And it doesn't necessarily, it cannot always be used. But why I find it very useful is who and what I honor, I protect. Who and what I honor, I stand up for. Who and what I honor, you cannot question, you cannot demean, you cannot speak down to, and I can also not do that. But we live in a world where I can say I love my wife, but yesterday she was asking for it, so I had to slap her. Like we say that. We say that. But I still love her. She knows that I love her. She will not leave. Like she knows that I love her. Like I was drunk, so she must understand. But did I honor her? I didn't.
No.
So I feel that love has become, because of 10,000 R&B songs, a very sketchy, strange concept that we keep saying, and we say, oh, it's how beautiful. But it's also not beautiful because the person that says she or he loves you actually is breaking you.
True.
So for me, I think I have an understanding of when I'm honored. And it doesn't mean that you have to bow to me.
No.
But when for instance, that means that, and what it means in my relationship with my wife is that we don't have the right to attack each other. We don't have the right to speak rough to each other. I don't have the right to call her names. I can be angry, but I need to find a meaningful way to communicate that when you speak to me like that, I get upset. I feel you're not valuing me. But I don't say, you see women like you. Like I can't say that. I don't have the right as an African man to break the spirit of an African woman. And she should also not have the right to do that to me.
Absolutely. Wow.
So
honor
and love. Just to also close it off, and what I learned from that as well, and what I do understand is that for you to even get to a place of love, you have to honor. So without the honor, you will never be able to love. Love is a momentarily thing. Honor is a timeless one.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I feel like we have so much more episodes to record.
This, chapter 2.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Boys Will Be Boys, chapter 1 with Baba Buntu. Thank you so much for having coming through and spending time to give us. Thank you so much.
Stephanie Park. I'm talking Toby, aka Toby. I said it twice, you know that I mean it. We had Mr. Baba Buntu here in the building at Homegrown, and we call it the Homegrown Way of Life. Stay tuned for Boys Will Be Boys, and please learn we're informative, we're educative, and we're entertaining.
Thank you.